Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. Now, in this video, we're going to start to implement a recycler view. So I'm going to show you how the easiest way to implement a recycler view in your Android Studio. Now, just before we get started, I do have a lot of information, a lot of courses on Android development. So do check out the links in the description if you're interested in that. With that said, let's go ahead and start to implement our recycler view. So first of all, open up your Android Studio and create a new project. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to create a list, a recycler view list of a few animals. So I'm going to tell you a bit more about that when we get to that stage. So first of all, let's go ahead and create our new project, empty activity, click next, give your project a name, let's say animals list. Okay, whatever name you like, it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to click finish. All right, while that is building, basically, I want to show you what we are trying to build. So let's go ahead and open up this RecyclerView app that I have here. Is the finished product. So we're going to build something like this. We have some images of animals. We're going to put them in a list in multiple different ways, and we're going to build something very similar to this. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to our Android Studio. Now here, first of all, the first thing I want to do is I want to add the images for the animals to our project. Okay, you don't have to use these images. If you want, you can find the link to the images in the description, but you can also have your own images, or in addition, you can also have no images, but just some text. Okay, I will also show you how to do that if you like. So if you don't want to download them, that is perfectly fine. If you do want to download them, go ahead and get them from the description and then come back to Android Studio here. Okay, so here in the res folder under drawable, I'm going to right click and reveal in Finder. Okay, so this just opens up the browser. I'm going to open up drawable. Okay, let me just switch. That's fine. And here I have downloaded somewhere. I have downloaded all my animals. Okay, so I'm just going to copy that and paste them here. Okay, so once that is done, you can see them in your Android Studio. Okay, so these are set. Now, if you don't want to do that, like I said, that is fine. You can use simply text, but it has a bigger visual impact, let's say. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, I'm going to create a new file here that I'm going to call animal. Okay, I'm going to make this a data class. And here we will have only one property. I'm going to have val image of type integer. The reason it's integer is because we will link to the resource ID of the animals. Okay, if you want text instead of images, then you will provide here a string. Okay, like I said, you can add here anything you like, and for a more complex project, this animal class or this data class will be more complex, but we're going to keep it simple for now because we're focusing on the structure of our project, the recycler view. Also, one thing I forgot to mention, I'm not going to focus too much on architecture. Okay, so normally you will want to structure your code in a very nice architectural way, maybe MVVM, something like that. But here, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to focus on RecyclerView, and I'm going to disregard the architecture. Okay, so we have our animal. Let's go ahead and create a new class. I'm going to make this an object, and I'm going to call this something like data provider. Okay, and this is going to have a function called provide data that will give me a list of animals. Okay, so this is going to be easy to implement. I'm just going to have val final list equals array list of animal. Okay, and I'm going to add all my images to this final list. So final list dot add animal of, and here we need to provide the ID. So I'm going to say r.drawable.a1 underscore bison. Okay, so that's my first animal. Like I said, if you want to have just text, you would provide the text here that you want. Okay, I have 25 images, so let's double that. I'm going to click Command D, or I think it's Control D on a PC. By the way, let me just enable the plugin. So I have a plugin here that is Presentation Assist that will allow you to see the what I type, basically, the keyboard shortcuts that I type. Okay, so here I have final list. I'm going to duplicate that, and I'm going to have 25 of these lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now it's all a matter of replacing all these images here. So I'm going to say A2 cat, A3. I'm going to just skip the video to not bore you with the details here, but let's return when I finish this list. All right, so that is done. I filled out my list here, so I'm going to simply return my final list. Okay, so that takes care of that. This is a typo, a list of animal. Okay, so I have my data. Now, let's go ahead. We have our main activity here. Let's add our recycler view to our layout. Okay, so I'm just going to remove the text view that was added by default. I'm going to pick a recycler view, put it here in the middle. I'm going to click this infer constraint so that it's attached to the sides of my view. And that is pretty much it. Let me just give it a name, animals RV for recycler view. Okay, that is all for the UI. Like I said, we're not going to focus too much on that. Now, the next thing we have to do, or rather the first thing related to our recycler view we need to do, is we need an adapter. An adapter basically converts the data that we have from whatever source. In our case, it's a simple array list, but it can be very complex. It may be retrieved from a backend, whatever it is. We need an adapter that converts this data into a format that the recycler view can display. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a new class. And I'm going to call this animal RV adapter. Okay, this will inherit from RecyclerView.adapter. Okay, here we need a special construct called viewHolder, and we also have a constructor here. So for the viewHolder, let's go ahead and create the class inside our animal RV adapter. So here I'm going to say class animal viewHolder that inherits from RecyclerView.viewHolder. Now, you will notice that the viewHolder requires a view. Okay, so I'm going to say view of type view. We, of course, need to get this from somewhere, so we're going to implement it in the constructor here, and I'm going to say view of type view. Okay, make sure you import the view here. All right, so we have our animal view holder. Let's go ahead and, what is the problem here? Oh, sorry, we don't need a type here. We just need the variable. Okay, so we're going to leave this empty for now. Here, we need to provide the type. So it's going to be animal view holder. Okay, that is all for now. Now here, we're going to need to implement a few methods. So I'm going to hit option return, implement members, select all three. This is the bare minimum that we need, and we're going to implement those. I'm just going to move my view holder at the end. I just prefer to have it there. No particular reason, you can leave it anywhere. All right, so next up, we need to implement these three methods. So the first one, the easiest one, is getItemCount. So basically, an adapter will receive a list of elements and will convert them into a view. Okay, so let's go ahead and add in the constructor here a val animals of type list of animal. So this is the list that will be received by the adapter, okay? And the getItemCount simply says, how many elements do we have? Well, we have exactly animals.size, okay? Easy enough. Now, we need to create our view holder, okay? So for the create view holder method, we have something like this. We have return animal view holder. Remember, we have the class here, animal view holder, and we need the view. So here we have layout inflator dot from. We need to provide the context, which is going to be parent dot context. we need to provide, and that's it, just the context. We can say dot inflate. Okay, and we need to have a layout for our individual element inside the list. Okay, this layout we need to, of course, create ourselves. So let's go ahead and inside the res layout folder, I'm going to right-click new layout resource file. Okay, I'm going to call this item, something like item animal. You can call it whatever you like. This simply is the layout that displays your individual element inside the list. Okay, for us, we only have an image, or if you only have text, then you will provide a text view here instead of an image view. So for the text, for the image, I'm going to have 100 dp for the width, 100 dp for the height. I'm going to give it a ID. Let's say animal image. Okay, and since we are inside a constraint layout, we need to provide a couple of constraints. I'm going to say left to left, so constraint left to left of parent, and top to top, also parent. Okay, you can see the auto suggestion. You can do this in design view as well. I prefer to do it in code because for me it's much simpler. All right, so this is the layout that we're going to use. Now we have that. Let's go back to our adapter, and I'm going to say inflate r.layout.item animal. Okay, so we have our animal, and then we also need our parent. Okay, so we have our animal view holder. Now the final one is what happens on bind view holder. Well, inside our animal view holder class, we will have a function bind that takes an animal of type animal, okay, and populates our view. Okay, so in our case, we're going to simply have, let's get the val img equals view dot, what was it called? Let me just command click on that. We have animal image. Okay, so this is one issue that I don't like about Android Studio. They removed a plugin that is really useful. So let's go ahead, double shift, open up build.gradle. Some versions have this, some don't, so check if you have it. Otherwise, we will just add another plugin here at the top, Kotlin-Android-extensions. Okay, sometimes this is added, sometimes it's not. For me, it's not. Check if you have it. If you don't, add this line. Go ahead and sync now. Just going to wait for that to finish. Okay, so now we can access directly the animal image here. Animal image, there we go. So we are in the view holder. We're going to bind an animal to our view. So we're going to simply say img.setImageResource animal.img. Okay, so this is the ID of the resource image that we have. If you have text here, you will set the text instead of image resources. That's quite simple. So we have our bind method. Here we're going to say holder dot bind, and we need the animal. Luckily, we have the position given to us, and here we have animals of position. Right, so that is all for the adapter. You can, of course, have more complex structure here. Usually, this is quite similar. The complexity might come if you have multiple elements inside the view that you need to populate. You would have more information in this bind function, right? So this changes quite a lot. This doesn't change that much. All right, so we have that. We have our adapter set up. Now, let's go to our main activity and kind of put everything in place. Okay, so here we simply have animals RV. Remember, this is our recycler view. Dot adapter, we will provide our animal RV adapter. We need to provide here the list. So here is our data provider dot provide data. And one more thing we need to do, animals RV dot layout manager. The first thing we're going to need to do is provide a linear list. Okay, so one element underneath the other. So I'm going to say linear layout manager of this. It needs a context. So that's pretty much all we need to do. Let's go ahead and run our code and check that everything is working as expected. OK, so there is a small issue here. Let's check for any errors that we might have. Let me run that again. OK, so we have an error here. View holder must not be attached when created. Oh, right, I know what happened. We need to simply provide parent and false here. OK, we don't want to attach the view directly. Let's go ahead and run that again. OK, so we can see only one element. The reason for that is each element takes the whole screen. So if we scroll, we can see the next one down below. We can easily fix that. Let's go and open up our animal layout. And here, the height is going to be wrap parent. OK, let's go ahead and run this again. That should fix our problem. OK, so we have our element. So of course, if you have a longer element here, you have a vertical list that you can scroll. OK, so already we have implemented our vertical recycler view. Let's go ahead and add a divider between our elements just because it looks nicer. In the main activity, I'm going to say animal rv.add item decoration. And here we have a divider item decoration. Here we need a context, which is this, and our divider item decoration dot vertical. OK, let's go ahead and run this again. OK, there we go. We have our dividers between our elements. Vertical because our list is vertical, not because the divider itself is vertical. OK, so we have horizontal lines for a vertical list. OK, now I want to show you quickly how you can change up this, this structure very easily without changing too much code. OK, so here we have our layout manager, which is a linear layout manager. It's going to be vertical. OK, now if we want to add multiple elements side by side, it's quite simple, really. Let's comment out this code. We can say animals rv dot layout manager. We're going to provide just a different layout manager this time, and it's going to be a grid layout manager. And this one simply asks us for a context, which is going to be this, and how many vertical columns do we want. I'm going to say 2. OK, let me run that again. You can see that in simply just one line, we have changed the orientation of our recycler view. So we can have two rows of animals. Now, keep in mind that at the moment, the element is half the screen. OK, so for us, it's quite lucky that the same layout works for both linear list and grid list. OK, in other cases, you might need to change this and then update it here in your layout view holder, OK, in your adapter. But for us, it works just fine. I'm going to go ahead and increase this to 3, OK, because 3 might fit well on the screen. OK, there we go. So we have our new list with 3 rows of elements. So that's really, really useful to use. I use this recycler view quite a lot in a lot of my projects. Obviously, you need to update your layout here. One more thing I want to show you before we end, something very useful on occasion, is how do we update our list when something changes. OK, so let me just change this data provider to say, to add another function, something like provide data reversed. Also provides a list of animal. And this is simply going to be provide data dot reversed. Okay, so what happens when we want to reverse our list or want to provide new animals here? Well, first of all, we need to create a new function here called update animals, and this will return will get a new animals of type list of animal. Okay, now animals.clear, no, we cannot have that because this is a list, so we need to simply make this variable. Animals equals new animals. Okay, so we've updated our list. Now we simply need to call, and this is very important, notify dataset changed, so that the system knows to refresh the whole list. Okay, very, very important. And here in our main activity, after we've set everything up, we are going to say, let's extract this to a variable. So I'm going to say val adapter is going to be this, cut and paste, adapter. Okay, because we need to access it here. So adapter dot update animals, and here we can provide data provider dot provide data reversed. Okay, so this will update the list, will notify dataset changed, and will refresh the list if everything goes well. So let's have a look. Okay, and we see that the list is now reversed. So what happened here is that our adapter had initially a set of animals, a set of data, and then at some point we updated it. For us, it's very sequential. Okay, we don't do any interaction with the user, but of course in your application you can, for instance, if new information comes in from a backend service, then you can update your list very easily. Okay, so you can see how easily it is updated here. Right, so that is the whole video. That is what I wanted to show you, how to implement a RecyclerView and a few other tips and tricks regarding RecyclerView, like updating and orientation change and layouts and so on. I hope you found it useful. If you want more information, like I said, about Android development in general, I have a lot of courses that are very, very targeted towards different aspects of Android development. So check out the links in the description. And yeah, have a look at that. If you're interested, sign up for one or more of them. And that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.